Mercedes have made major progress with the development of the W16, and with just 3 weeks for the car's digital release, followed by its reported Bahrain shakedown, information on the new challenger is already being presented. Mercedes are going for the evolutionary approach, yet are making substantial changes for its 2025 car. So, what are these changes, and will it prove superior to rivals' team high-risk approach? The 2024 season was a mixed bag for Mercedes, as the W15 was an unpredictable car hampered by a long-standing weakness surrounding the car's rear end through mechanical choices made for the W13 and W14 that the team still has not been able to rectify. But that for 2025 is going to change, as the team will at last have the budget and required development and simulation resources to invest in solving this particular problem with the 2025 W16. With that information, we have some leaks revealing details of the exact changes being made for the W16, from mechanical and chassis updates up to key aerodynamic revisions. The team is going to be revising its entire rear suspension geometry, as Mercedes has been running a different geometry compared to McLaren and Red Bull. Mercedes throughout the 2025 season has been struggling with a poor rear end and rear tyre degradation issues, which both Red Bull and McLaren were able to mitigate and extract more pace compared to the W15 across varying circuit demands. Hence, the revision is now being made for the W16. Technicians are aiming to redesign the suspension attachment points by changing the position where the arms meet the vehicle body. A greater angle of anti-lift, anti-squat, and anti-dive is sought. In this way, greater stability will be guaranteed with respect to longitudinal accelerations, corner entry and corner exits. The slight variation of these angles reduces the pitching of the single-seater, limits the detachment of the fluid vane from the surfaces, and reduces the loss of downforce due to load shifting. Springs, shock absorbers, third element and torsion bars have also undergone a redesign process for the W16. In this configuration, the car is more stable when entering and exiting corners, especially at the rear where oversteer is reduced, which in turn should reduce rear tyre overheating, hence improving rear tyre degradation. The basic aim is to widen the car's operating window while giving flexibility with the car's rear end and tyre performance. The new suspension settings are tested in the simulator by varying different setups. In this way, the technicians were able to verify the quality of the work done on the suspension and chassis, comparing the data with the simulations carried out on the W15. A change as substantial as revising the car's rear suspension geometry is very important and could be tricky to execute. If not handled properly, Mercedes could fall into more tyre issues. But only on track during the pre-season tests at Bahrain will the team be able to certify the quality of work they've done during the winter. In unison with the rear suspension revision, Mercedes are set to make major changes to the car's chassis design. According to a report from Formula Uno, Mercedes will be making substantial revisions to the chassis design to accommodate the revised rear suspension's wishbone attachment points and the adjusted engine fastenings. The points where the power unit is attached to the chassis will also be modified within the limits of the regulations. We know that the propulsion system, together with the gearbox given the total weight of about 300 kilograms, is a fundamental element to give rigidity to the entire vehicle. The powertrain engineers of the Brixworth factory have changed the attachment points to reduce the torque of the power unit with respect to the longitudinal plane of the car. In addition, the repositioning of the fasteners is intended to bring the axis of the car's longitudinal center of mass closer to the axis passing through the power unit's center of mass parallel to it. Through such an operation, the moments granted to the propulsion system compared to the single-seater are further reduced. The torsional rigidity of the vehicle body and consequently of the aerodynamic architecture is improved. The attempt to optimize the rigidity of the chassis also involved the materials engineers assisted by structural colleagues. In the research and development department, new ways have been studied to weave the fibers and ensure better mechanical characteristics without increasing the weight of the single-seater. Limiting the overall mass of an F1 car is also important in order to be able to play with the positioning of the ballast and balance the front and rear axles according to the layout of the circuits and the stiffness imposed. The basic aim of all these changes made to the chassis is to improve the car's ride from a mechanical perspective. Fiddling with anti-dive and anti-squat of the rear suspension combined to generate more performance without compromising the car's ride quality. The third big change Mercedes will be making is redesigning the car's underfloor. Mercedes went through two different floor specifications in 2024 that played a significant part in their season's performance in both positive and negative ways. The first update was introduced at Imola, and the team made a significant jump in terms of redesign. That floor improved the W15's competitiveness, but in the same time made the car unpredictable and unstable at the rear. In particular, the flow coming out of the diffuser was unstable, which did not interact properly with the beam wing and rear wing, especially on tracks with high aerodynamic downforce. During the following races, the technicians tried to improve the stability of the car. Then the second iteration floor was introduced at the Belgian Grand Prix, which according to the team did deliver the expected downforce, but made the car trickier to drive. So after introducing that new floor, the team carried out various tests and were able to understand that the limitation was mainly due to the interaction inherent in the aerodynamic architecture with the car's body. The engineering team led by James Allison in fact understood that these aerodynamic improvements were essential to recover the correct pressure, although their work was limited by the car's chassis and rear suspension. So with the engineers making the necessary changes to the chassis and rear suspension for the W16, now the engineers have the flexibility to revise the underfloor to extract its untapped potential. The aim of this floor revision is to make the car more stable around the rear axle under varying loads to obtain a good interaction between the low pressure airflows coming out to the floor and those generated around the rear wing to generate efficient and usable downforce. Notable revisions to the car's top body aerodynamics will be made as well, with major revisions being made to the side pods and engine cover. The engine cover will be lower compared to the W15 to aid in better fluid flow, aimed at generating downforce while creating minimal drag. The side pods will be the overbite concept, but the design will be more generic compared to rival teams like Ferrari and Red Bull. Another notable change Mercedes will be making is to the car's front wing, working on the wing's flexibility and flap designs. Revisions will be made to provide proper front and rear axle balance, to widen the car's working window to improve the drivers through corner confidence. These are massive changes Mercedes are making for 2025, but most of them are basic changes that the team must have made at least a year ago, such as the rear suspension revision, but the team are making them now for the W16. So on paper, the car should see a visible jump in terms of performance, but nothing is guaranteed until the car hits the track at Bahrain for testing. And with big changes always comes the risk factor, which every team must be wary of. Mercedes needs stability to conclude this ground effect regulatory parenthesis in the best way possible. The Silver Arrows must build a car that is immediately competitive and requires little effort to be refined within season developments. But at the same time, they want to shine again in 2026. For that reason, most of the efforts made at Brackley will be concentrated on the design of the 2026 chassis and power units that we will see in a year's time. From all we have heard of and discussed, Mercedes are making great progress with the W16's development. But what do you guys think? We are very much into your thoughts and perspectives in the comments section down below. And on your way down, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get notified of our future uploads to keep yourselves up to date about the 2025 Formula 1 season.